Hello, friends, and welcome back to another episode of Super Real Human. I'm so glad that you are here to join us today. This is the fourth part, the last part in a four-part series on shifting, right? Shift happens. And for me, this shift has been from working one on one with solopreneurs and small business owners into taking on more fractional CMO. I've talked in the past about how they influence each other and they really, the two skill sets impact the clients, right, on both sides of the equation. And also what I love about both, right? I am in my heart and in my soul, I am very much a coach, a mentor, somebody who wants to help others grow and advance and empower others, all that good stuff all day, every day. Love it. And I also am a strategy nerd and I love planning and brainstorming and finding out what works and really digging into people and how they think and how they're consuming and behaviors. I love that stuff, right? And they come together in the role of a leader, right? Whether you are part of a big team, whether you are running an organization, whether you're at the top, the middle, the bottom, everyone has the opportunity to be a leader, right? And I think that's a really important characteristic that some roles require it, right? In order to be successful in certain roles, you need to be a strong leader. You need to be a good leader. I think that means you need to be a kind, heart centered leader, but also driven and responsive and respectful, right? There's all these things that I could give you my opinion of leadership and good leadership. Um, but we're going to talk about that in a different episode. Today, we're going to focus on how being a leader, being a fractional CMO makes me a better coach to all of my clients, not just the solopreneurs and the small business clients, although there's often more coaching in those relationships, but how that leadership and that strategy helps me help other clients as a coach. So let's dig into it. All right. We've talked about all the things about how I love what I do and this shift and how it's been really exciting. And there's been a lot going on, right? A lot going on. And anybody stepping into a chief marketing officer role, whether it's fractional or full time, may experience these things, right? Doesn't even have to be marketing. It could be your COO or your CIO. Lots of different roles at the leadership level encounter various challenges. Just in the past few months alone, we've gotten a new CEO at the organization and we've announced a merger, right? So there's a lot of question marks. And, part of the leadership team's responsibility is to make sure that everyone feels good about what's coming up because change is scary. Let's be honest, for all of us, right? In running my own business and being a mom and being a partner, like change is scary, but it doesn't have to stay scary. We don't have to feel scared about the scary situation, right? So I want to talk a little bit about a couple of reasons why my experience as a chief marketing officer really helps in coaching. Because we've already talked about the reverse, right? How coaching helps me be a better CMO. So the ability that you have, or the need to be able to see big picture when you're a chief marketing officer of a bigger organization is clutch, right? You have to see big picture. You have to know how all the moving parts work together, right? Budgets, resources, all of the things. And then you've got a big audience that you need to kind of look at and be like, all right, you've got to kind of pay attention to all of those things, right? What messages are landing, what isn't, who's hearing it, what messages are being absorbed, what actions being taken, right? You got to look at all pieces. So one of the things that I think really helps when you take it down to a smaller organizational level and you're working on more coaching, more one-on-one work, and really guiding people through their marketing, building their business, figuring out what works for them, is being able to see a big picture, but also dial it down and understand budget constraints, resources that are available. All of those pieces, right? You need that creativity and that ability to see big and also how to implement and execute when things aren't quite as large, when you don't have that 6, 7 figure to use, right? Two very different approaches. But at the end of the day, I think you're a stronger marketer when you don't have that budget to work with and you get the job. Just my hot take. All right. The second thing is strategy and accountability. When you are, like myself, a small business owner working primarily by yourself, you're accountable to yourself. You come up with a strategy, you execute the strategy, or you don't. When you're part of a bigger team and you're leading a larger team in a bigger organization, there's accountability. There's a lot of it. And you better believe that that strategy is important because it doesn't just influence what you're making for decisions, right? The decisions that you're making, it actually influences every other department, right? Especially as marketing. I believe that marketing, that department's goal is to help everyone achieve their goals, right? The overall organization, each department. In a credit union, it's lending, it's member solutions, right? It's deposit services, it's everybody, right? You serve everybody when you are in marketing because that is how everyone is going to succeed. All right. So that big organization strategy is important in a smaller organization or in a solo organization, right? It doesn't matter how big or how small you are, how many employees you have or don't have, how many clients you have or don't have. What matters is that there is a roadmap, there is a plan, there is a strategy that, when mapped out on paper or a whiteboard or whatever, makes sense, that you can see a clear path of how it's going to work to get to your goals. And it's measurable. Now, if you've been around me and Super Real Human for a while, you know that numbers and analysis has not always been my favorite thing. And I will tell you that the more CMO work I do, the more I serve as a chief marketing officer, the more I really like numbers because they make decision making easy, especially for those of us who are heart centered. Okay. So for those of us who are like get attached to something and love our relationships, it is really important to know what's working and what's not. Makes decision making so much easier. So part of that experience that I now bring to my smaller clients and my coaching clients is that accountability and that strategy, right? That ability to look at things through a relatively impartial lens, but still get super, super psyched about the good stuff. And that really ties in with the third thing, which is analytics. If you, like me, couldn't figure out the whole you can't add apples and oranges thing in middle school math or high school math for that matter, and took the bare minimum math in college, listen to me and listen to me well. Analytics are actually your friends, as are people that you know that can do data analytics and can help you understand and spell it out for you. Because without those people on my team, I would know a lot less than I know now. Um, but it's really important. It is really, really important. And now having a better understanding and taking that back to my smaller clients and my coaching clients and helping them understand the value and the importance and what to look for and what numbers to look at based on their goals, it is priceless. It is priceless. So, my friends, we're going to keep episode 4 in this series nice and short and sweet because I want you to take away from this episode, if there's anything you take away from it, I want you to understand that no matter where you are in your business, no matter where in the growth of your business you are, there are resources out there to help you. You may not be ready to hire a full time. You may not be ready to give up your coach and shift to something else. You may be in a spot where you are and you're like, bring it on. All I'm telling you is that, or all I'm sharing with you is that there is a balance, right? And there are benefits to finding the right resource for where you're at. And just because you're not super, super big yet doesn't mean that somebody who's very strategic and analytics oriented or has sort of a passion for that isn't going to be useful because all of that stuff is useful just on scales, right? Um, but it also has made this shift that I have made. It's not really a shift because I'm still doing both. I guess it's a balance. It's a balancing maybe of my time and my work. But those things are really important. And I think one of the most important things that I have learned as of late is the difference between leadership and management. But we're going to talk about that next time. Because I want to keep this series nice and short and kind of about the benefits of the CMO and coach roles coming together. So if you are a chief marketing officer and you're looking to build perhaps on some of your coaching skills, do it. Don't hesitate. It is so important. I know conferences are a big thing in bigger organizations and professional development. If you can find the space in your schedule and in your budget to get some coach training, some mentorship training, if you haven't already, 1000% worth it. And if you are a coach and you have been loving the heart centered work you do, and you want to take that service to the next level for your clients, for your smaller clients, for your coaching clients, but you want to add some more strategy and some more analytics, do it. Dig in and figure out what it is that best serves your clients and what feels good to you. Learn that it. Seriously, learn it and embrace it. It gives so much more to both types of clients, and you yourself get so much out of it. I'm so on fire loving what I'm doing, and I love the people I'm helping. So, all right, that ends this cute little series about shift happening. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got some good takeaways from it. And stay tuned because we've got a couple of good episodes coming up, including my one little surprise encounter, my fangirling moment, which I will share with you next episode. All right, we'll talk to you soon. Mwah.